I always believed Christmas morning was supposed to feel warm, magical, and full of love, the kind of morning where you wake up to the smell of hot chocolate and cinnamon rolls and the soft glow of lights reflecting off wrapping paper. But that year, the year everything in my life cracked open, the morning felt strangely heavy from the moment I opened my eyes. I didn't know why. I just felt it in my stomach, like a quiet warning. My name is Ava, I'm 28, and I've worked 2 jobs for the past year trying to build a future with the man I loved, Ethan. We had been together 3 years, and even though life wasn't always perfect, I believed we were a team. I believed we were moving towards something real. My family never liked seeing me dream that way. My sister Lily was the golden girl, the one my parents adored for reasons I never understood. She didn't work. She didn't struggle. She didn't save. Everything she wanted just appeared because my parents made it happen. Meanwhile, I bought my own gifts, paid my own way, and clapped politely whenever the universe handed her something new on a silver platter. Growing up, I learned not to expect anything from them, so I built expectations with Ethan instead. Or I thought I did. For months before Christmas, I had noticed little things, whispered phone calls when I walked into the room, my mother looking strangely nervous when I mentioned Ethan, and my sister avoiding eye contact whenever I walked past her bedroom. But I pushed the thoughts down. I trusted Ethan. I trusted my family too much. I tried to believe I was imagining things, because who wants to believe the people they love are capable of cutting them open without warning? That morning, as my family gathered in the living room with coffee mugs and Christmas pajamas, I tried to shake off the strange feeling. My mother fussed over Lily's hair. My father cooked breakfast. Everyone laughed like the world was perfect. Ethan sat on the couch, looking tense, but I smiled at him anyway, trying to bring some peace into the room. I thought maybe he was nervous about the gift he had for me. I had hinted for months about the ring I loved, the simple rose gold band with the oval diamond. He always said, "One day, I promise. I just need to save a little more." And I believed him. I believed every word. So when he stood up suddenly, clearing his throat as the entire room turned toward him, my heart sped up. My hand shook. I thought, for one beautiful second, this is it. He's choosing me. But then he turned not toward me, but toward Lily. My breath stopped. The room blurred. And before I could understand what I was seeing, he dropped onto one knee in front of her. In front of my sister. My sister. My ears rang. My chest tightened like someone was pulling a rope around my ribs. And then he opened the small velvet box, and inside it, the ring, my ring, the exact design I had shown him months ago, the ring he told me he couldn't afford yet. I couldn't hear anything after that. The whole room erupted, my mother screaming with joy, clapping her hands like she had been waiting for this moment her whole life. My father wiped a tear from his eye. My cousins rushed closer with their phones out. And Lily, pretending to be shocked, even though her face told a different story, covered her mouth dramatically and whispered, "Ethan, oh my God, yes." She said yes to the ring I chose. She said yes to the man I loved. She said yes to the life I thought I was building. Ethan hugged her, lifted her into the air, and my mother hugged them both. Everyone celebrated. Everyone except me. I stood there frozen, staring at something that felt unreal, like watching a movie where the villain wins in the first scene. My hands shook as I slowly stepped back, unnoticed by every face in the room. My mother brushed past me without even looking. My father didn't ask if I was okay. Lily didn't even glance in my direction. Ethan avoided my eyes completely. I was invisible in the moment that shattered me. While the room buzzed with congratulations, laughter, and camera flashes, I quietly took out my phone because a strange instinct hit me, a voice inside whispering, "Check. Just check." My heart pounded as I opened my banking app. Loading, and then it appeared. A large withdrawal. The exact amount for the ring. And the date 2 weeks ago. My own shared savings account. My money. He bought her ring with my money. I felt the floor tilt under my feet. Heat spread across my face. My throat closed. This wasn't heartbreak. This wasn't disappointment. This was betrayal, deep, sharp, and personal. The kind that rewrites everything you thought you knew about people. The kind that changes you in one breath. I swallowed hard, blinking back tears I refused to let fall in front of them. They didn't deserve my pain. They didn't deserve my reaction. Slowly, I sat on the arm of a chair, pretending to check a message, pretending to be unfazed, pretending to breathe normally while inside, everything was collapsing. My mother finally looked my way, not with concern, not with love, but with annoyance, as if my presence was somehow ruining their perfect moment. "Ava," she said sharply, "don't sulk. This is a happy day." Sulk? I wanted to laugh. Or scream. Or disappear. But I simply nodded, looking down at my phone so she wouldn't see the storm building behind my eyes. I wasn't sad. Sadness was too small for what happened. I was something else entirely. Something colder. Something clearer. Because in that moment, as everyone celebrated a proposal built on lies, I felt a switch flip inside me. They thought they won. They thought I would stay quiet. They thought I would accept this humiliation the way I had accepted every other disrespect from my family. But betrayal like this does not leave you weak. Betrayal sharpens you. Betrayal teaches you. Betrayal becomes the fire that burns away every illusion you ever had and leaves behind someone stronger. I looked at Ethan, arms wrapped around my sister, smiling like he had done nothing wrong. I looked at Lily, showing off the ring to anyone who would look. I looked at my mother, wiping her tears of happiness over the engagement she had clearly known about for months. And I realized something powerful. I had no one in that room. Not one person had chosen me. Not one person protected me. And that meant one thing: I didn't owe them anything anymore. Not my loyalty. Not my silence. Not my devotion. I stood up, quietly placed my phone back into my pocket, and walked out of the room. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. But they would. Soon. Because betrayal has consequences. And I had just discovered the first piece of proof that would destroy everything they built on top of my trust. As I walked down the hallway toward the guest room, the weight in my chest slowly changed. It didn't hurt anymore. It hardened into something solid, something steady, something ready. They had made their choice on Christmas morning. And I would make mine. And I swear, as I closed the door behind me, a calm washed over me, a calm I hadn't felt in years. The calm that comes when your heart stops begging for love and starts preparing for revenge. When I closed the guest room door behind me on Christmas morning, I expected to collapse, to cry, to shake until my body felt empty, but instead something inside me felt unnaturally calm, like my heart had turned from glass into stone. And that stone was holding me upright when everything else wanted to pull me down. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long moment, listening to the faint sound of laughter from the living room, the sound of my family celebrating my betrayal as if it were the happiest holiday of their lives, and in that silence, I made a decision. I was done begging for people who never chose me. I stared at the wall, letting the truth settle in my bones. Ethan didn't love me. My sister didn't respect me. My mother didn't protect me. My entire family saw me as the extra piece, the person whose feelings didn't matter, the person who should keep quiet and smile while they walked all over me. But not anymore. Something inside my chest clicked, sharp and final, like a door locking on a world I would never go back to. I took a slow breath, wiped the last tears off my face, and whispered to myself, "You're not the weak one here." They are. That sentence became my fuel. I didn't go downstairs again. I didn't congratulate them. I didn't let myself be the sad loser in the corner. Instead, I opened my laptop and began the quiet work that would change everything. The first thing I checked was my bank account again, carefully, slowly, making sure the transaction was exactly what I thought it was. It was worse. Not only had Ethan withdrawn the amount for the ring, but I saw smaller withdrawals sprinkled throughout the last few months, little pieces of my money disappearing behind my back. He had been stealing from me long before Christmas. The warm feeling I once had when I thought about him turned into cold steel. I took screenshots of everything, saved them in a hidden folder, and emailed copies to myself. Evidence. Every betrayal needed evidence. Over the next few days, while my family continued to celebrate Lily's engagement, while the house stayed noisy and bright with visitors bringing gifts and congratulations, I moved through the halls quietly, unnoticed, collecting more proof. I went into the shared home computer where Ethan had borrowed my login more than once, and I checked the message backups he forgot to delete. My hands trembled as I opened a folder labeled Work Notes. Inside were messages, dozens of them, between him and Lily, starting months ago. The first one hit me like a punch. "I'll talk to Ava today. She'll think I'm going to see my mom, so I can meet you at the cafe. Don't stress." Another. "She asked about the ring again. Told her I'm still saving. She believed me, lol." And the one that shattered any remaining softness left in me. "Once your parents give you the inheritance bonus, we're set. Don't worry, I'll make sure I look stable enough for them. They already trust me. They used me. Both of them. Ethan used my money, my home, my kindness, and Lily used my absence, my silence, and the blind trust one used to give her because she was my sister." I took screenshots of every message, every cruel joke, every plan they hid behind my back. I didn't cry. I didn't make a sound. My heart had already hardened too much for tears. The next morning, I listened from the hallway as my mother and Lily whispered in the kitchen. My mother said, "Don't tell Ava yet. She'll make it dramatic, and this is supposed to be her moment." Lily replied, laughing softly, "She'll get over it. She always does." The knife went deeper, but at the same time, the wound stopped bleeding. I wasn't going to get over it. I was going to make sure they never forgot what they did to me. The most painful discovery came 2 days later. I walked into my parents' office to return a box of decorations when I saw a piece of paper sticking out of a drawer. I didn't plan to snoop. I just had a feeling. A strange tightness in my stomach. I pulled the paper out and saw the words, "Future Fund Agreement, Lily Harper." My breath caught. I unfolded it slowly. It was a contract, signed by my parents, promising Lily a large lump sum of money once she announced an engagement to a financially stable partner. My parents were buying her a future. They were paying her to settle down. And Ethan knew about it. That's why he turned to her. Not for love. Not for happiness. For money. The money he used me to survive long enough to reach. I almost laughed then, not because it was funny, but because the absurdity was too much. I had been nothing but a stepping stone in a deal that had nothing to do with me. My family saw me as nothing more than a placeholder until someone better came along. I scanned the contract using my phone. Another piece of evidence. Another truth they thought I would never see. By the time December 28th arrived, I had more than enough proof to destroy every lie they built. But revenge is never rushed. Revenge done right is silent, calculated, and delivered at the moment when the enemy believes they are safest. So I made appointments. Quiet ones. First, with a lawyer, an old friend who worked in financial law. I didn't cry when I told him what happened. I spoke clearly, calmly, almost coldly. I showed him the bank withdrawals, the messages, the receipts, and the contract. He looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and respect. "You have a strong case," he said. "Stronger than you think." He helped me draft formal reports for financial misuse and unauthorized withdrawal. He explained how Ethan could face legal consequences. Then he helped me freeze the savings account, our account, the one Ethan used freely because he assumed I would never notice or question him. When the freeze went through, I felt a fierce satisfaction settle in my chest. The first lock had clicked. Then came the second step. I prepared a personal statement. Not angry. Not emotional. Just factual and sharp, written in simple words that carried the weight of truth like a blade. I wrote about the money. The proposal. The messages. The contract. The betrayal. I wrote it in a tone so calm it felt like ice melting across paper. I didn't want arguments. I wanted clarity. Clarity cuts deeper than shouting ever could. Next, I printed everything, screenshots, receipts, bank statements, copies of messages, my statement, each one in perfect color, each one crisp and undeniable. Finally, I placed everything inside a sealed red envelope. The kind people use for giving holiday money. The color of celebration. The color of warning. The color of blood. I wrote their names on the front, for Lily and Ethan. I didn't sign mine. They would know. On December 29th, my house was still full of visitors congratulating Lily and Ethan. They moved through the rooms holding hands, laughing, showing off the ring bought with my savings. Ethan walked with a confidence that almost made me admire him. How bold do you have to be to steal from someone while sharing a bed with them? Lily took pictures with the ring in front of the Christmas tree, captioning them with cheesy lines about love and forever. My mother floated around them like a proud queen. And I walked among them like a ghost with a secret. A quiet shadow gathering strength in every room. Nobody noticed my silence. Nobody asked why I stayed distant. They thought I was shrinking, breaking, falling apart. But I was building something. Something they would feel soon. The final step came on December 30th. I visited my lawyer again, handed him the final copies, and asked him to be present at my parents' New Year's Eve party. He agreed without hesitation. When you expose the truth, he said quietly, do it with confidence. People who betray you expect you to come broken. Don't give them that victory. And I promised him I wouldn't. That night, I went home, sat on my bed, and looked at the red envelope lying next to me like a heartbeat. I touched the seal gently. This envelope held everything. My pain, my proof, my awakening. I whispered to myself, Christmas was their celebration. New Year's will be mine. And as I lay down, staring at the dark ceiling, I felt something new settle into my soul, strength. Real strength. The kind that grows from the ashes of everything people tried to destroy. The kind that comes when you stop waiting for justice and decide to create it yourself. New Year's Eve arrived faster than I expected, and as I dressed for my parents' annual party, I felt no fear, no shaking, no confusion, only a cold clarity that wrapped itself around me like armor, protecting every part of me that had once been soft. I chose a simple black dress, nothing flashy, nothing loud, but when I looked at myself in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. Her eyes were sharp, calm, steady. Her lips weren't trembling. Her shoulders were no longer hunched from carrying too much pain. She looked like someone who had outgrown the room everyone tried to keep her in. She looked like someone ready for war without ever raising her voice. The red envelope sat in my handbag, thick with evidence, heavier than any weapon, because truth, when revealed at the right moment, cuts deeper than any blade. When I arrived at my parents' house, it was glowing with lights, music, and laughter. People were already dancing, eating, and taking pictures under the gold and silver decorations my mother had insisted on. Everywhere I looked, guests held champagne glasses and wore glittering hats that said Happy New Year, and the air smelled of roasted chicken, cinnamon, and expensive perfumes. My parents always made their parties big, dramatic, and full of people who pretended everything was perfect. Tonight, perfection was about to break. I walked into the main hall and spotted them instantly. Lily stood near the Christmas tree, still decorated because my mother refused to take it down early, wearing a sparkling dress that matched the ring on her finger. My ring. The ring Ethan bought with my savings. She held her hand out in every photo, tilting it toward the lights so the diamond gleamed. Ethan stood close beside her, smiling in a way I used to think was charming, but now all I saw was calculation behind his eyes. When he noticed me, his smile dropped for half a second, just long enough for me to see fear flicker across his face, but then he masked it, pretending everything was fine. My mother saw me next. Her smile was too stiff, her eyes too alert, like she thought I might cry or cause a scene. She approached me quickly and whispered, Ava, please behave tonight. This party is important. That sentence alone showed me exactly who she was. I looked her straight in the eyes with a calm she didn't expect and said softly, Don't worry. I won't ruin anything. And I meant it. I wasn't there to ruin the party. I was there to reveal the truth, and truth ruins itself. As more people arrived, the rooms grew louder, fuller, warmer. Everyone congratulated Lily and Ethan, calling them the perfect couple, saying, What a beautiful ring and what a Christmas proposal. I stood quietly near the fireplace, watching them perform the roles they had written for themselves, both unaware that the final scene of their show would end tonight. My lawyer, Daniel, arrived around 10:30 p.m. He wore a dark suit and carried a small briefcase, blending in like any other guest, though he stayed near me, waiting for the moment I had planned. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. Revenge built on truth doesn't require noise. At 11:30 p.m., my father made his big annual speech, thanking everyone for coming, bragging about Lily's engagement, and praising Ethan for being a responsible man with a good future. I almost choked on that, but I kept my expression still. The betrayal didn't hurt anymore. What hurt was how easily they lied to themselves about who deserved love in this family. After his speech, people refilled their drinks, the music grew louder, and the countdown decorations began flashing on the screen. The energy shifted. Everyone was preparing for midnight. Everyone excited. Everyone was completely unaware that their cheers would be swallowed by silence in minutes. At 11:44 p.m., I stepped away from the fireplace. My heartbeat was calm, steady, almost slow. I walked to the center of the room, next to Lily, who was showing her ring to another group of guests. Ethan froze when he saw me approach. His jaw tightened. Lily's smile faltered. My mother's eyes widened in warning. But I didn't look at any of them. I gently tapped my champagne glass with a fork. Clink, clink, clink. The room went quiet almost instantly. People turned toward me. Phones lowered. The music softened. It was as if the whole house paused to inhale. I have a small gift for the couple, I said, my voice soft, but clear enough for the entire room to hear. Lily laughed nervously. Ava, you didn't have to. I handed her the red envelope. Open it, I said. Slowly, she slid her finger under the seal, smiling like she expected something sentimental, maybe a childhood letter or a joke or a small check. But the moment she saw the first page, her smile collapsed. Her eyes scanned the paper, widened, then froze. She flipped to the next page and the next. Bank statements. Screenshots. Messages. Receipt for the ring. The inheritance contract. And on the very top, the legal notice with Ethan's full name printed in bold letters. Lily's breathing turned shaky. A faint trembling ran through her hands. A murmur swept across the room like a growing wave. Ethan lunged forward, trying to grab the envelope. Lily, don't, just give it to me, but she stepped back like he was something dangerous she didn't recognize. My father took the envelope from her shaking hands and read the documents. His face hardened, first confusion, then shock, then anger so deep I could feel it from across the room. My mother covered her mouth and gasped loudly, finally understanding the celebration they had been worshipping was built on theft and betrayal. The whole room was silent now. So silent you could hear my heartbeat if you stood close. Lily's voice finally broke through the silence. Ethan, what is this? Tell me this is fake. Tell me you didn't take her money. Tell me you didn't lie to me. Ethan stuttered. It's not what you think. I just borrowed. We talked about this. I was going to pay her back. With what? I asked coldly. With the inheritance you were planning to marry into? The guests gasped. Lily's knees buckled. She looked at Ethan like he'd just stabbed her. You used me, she whispered. And you used her. My father stepped forward, his voice thunderous. Get out of this house. Now. Ethan tried again to defend himself, but my lawyer walked forward, holding up the final document. Mr. Cole, he said firmly, you have been formally notified of the charges that will follow. I suggest you leave immediately. Ethan paled. Completely. He looked around the room, hoping anyone would defend him. But even the guests stepped away, creating a circle around him like he was contagious. Lily cried. My mother cried. My father looked like he wanted to throw something. And I stood still, breathing evenly, feeling nothing but the clean weight of justice settling into place. Ethan backed away slowly, then finally turned and ran out of the house. The front door slammed behind him. The silence that followed was so complete it felt holy. Lily looked at me with red, wet eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you warn me? I stared at her for a long moment before answering. Would you have believed me? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Because she knew the truth. She never believed me. Not once in her life. My parents didn't speak, too shocked to form words. My mother's face was pale. My father looked older than he had an hour earlier. I didn't feel guilty. Not even for a second. I didn't ruin their night. I didn't ruin Lily's engagement. They built everything on dishonesty, and I simply held up a mirror. Midnight arrived then. The countdown started on the TV. People stood frozen, unsure whether they should cheer. But I raised my glass gently and said, "At midnight, we celebrate new beginnings. This is mine." And I walked toward the back door, leaving them speechless behind me as the fireworks outside exploded into the night sky. A week later, things changed fast. Ethan faced charges for unauthorized withdrawals. The engagement was over. Lily returned the ring. My parents tried to apologize, but their words sounded empty, like they were mourning their pride more than they were mourning what they did to me. I kept a polite distance. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't angry. I was simply done. Truly done. With their expectations. With their neglect. With their selective love. I moved into my own apartment, a bright, quiet place paid for with my protected savings and the settlement money I received after the case. And one night, as I stood in my new living room surrounded by peace I created for myself, I realized something important. Christmas didn't break me. Christmas revealed the truth that finally set me free. I lost a boyfriend. I lost a sister. But I gained something better myself. My power. My peace. And I knew deep in my heart that was the best beginning to any new year I'd ever had.